In all the years that I've been in tree care, I've climbed thousands of trees. In some instances, I would have to turn some down. Here are some of the reasons why I would never climb a tree. Here's a real visible reason why I wouldn't climb a tree. On this tree, it's a beehive. And yeah, sure, this one's on the base, but when you're gonna climb a tree, and if you're doing it for recreation or for work, you definitely wanna scan the tree. And a good way to notice if there's a beehive is how in here you could see the bees coming to one spot. And like, so if you're gonna go to that tree, you look up, you'll see like a bees and they're kind of going back and forth. Then you wanna focus and look at that spot and make sure there's no beehives, maybe wasps, or even animals like raccoons. You want to inspect the tree for that. So you would want to either postpone it, maybe do it at a cooler time, but you definitely wouldn't want to climb because you don't know if it's a European beehive or an African beehive. I'm no expert, but if it's an African beehive and you get up there, Africanized bees are really agitated and they don't give up pursuit. So if you're climbing a tree and you get attacked by an Africanized honeybee hive, that would be really horrible. We had this case at work where one of my guys was working and he was in a boom truck and he was trimming a tree. He was, just chainsaw pruning. Didn't see a beehive. He got real close to it. All of a sudden we heard him yelling and screaming, and this beehive just started attacking him. He boomed down out of the truck, jumped down. We called emergency. They took him to the hospital, and before they stopped counting, he had 150 bee stings. He turned out to be okay. He was in the hospital for a day or so, and luckily that he wasn't allergic, but that is definitely a reason why you wouldn't want to climb a tree. Another reason is rot at the base of a tree. So right here, you have these conchs. What conchs are is a fruiting body of a fungus, and usually fungus lives on decayed matter. So this is a real good indication on a tree that has rot or open cavities at the base, or maybe not even open cavities, but I mean a lot of rot that could make the tree weak. So this is the beginnings. I mean, one of the signs that you could look for. And if you notice this, now maybe you would sound it and see if it sounds hollow or not. And another thing you would do is if you're going to climb it, now that you've seen these, you want to look further. Now for me, I'll look into areas that are like maybe fissures. Well, right here, I can see that there's more of a cavity. And now I'm going to walk around the tree, even, go all the way around. So I'm going to start checking this side out. And now that I've gone to this side, I could see another cavity and another one. And then there's a seam. So, sometimes what you can do is get a rod and stick it in there to see how deep the rod is. But if you continue all the way around, which you want to do, you can see more conchs. And now you have another seam where it's rotted. And now you have a bigger gap. So that would be something where you could probe in and see how much rot there is. And not just at the base. If you were climbing up in the tree, say that you've cleared the bottom of the tree and you got it, you feel like you're safe because it bottoms, but now you go up into the canopy and you see conchs on a stem or, lateral scaffold branches, whatever. Well, now you start poking around when you're there, and be careful, because if there's some conchs like this on a horizontal branch and you start walking, there's a chance that it could snap on you. That's another reason, rot in a tree, and especially at the base. The base, the whole tree can come over, and if you're up in the canopy and you're on a branch that has rot, a branch can snap off on you. Another reason not to climb a tree is if there are protected bird species. Now, wherever you live in the areas you live, if there are protected birds, you want to pay attention to that and figure out when the nesting season in your area is. Something that's really important, if you were to climb a tree that had a protected bird species nest, sometimes there's huge fines that can come with that. That's something that you don't want to do. It's a good idea, whether you're a rec climber or a regular tree worker, having maybe binoculars and then looking for signs on trees. Sometimes it's a predator species. You might see little pieces of animal parts at the base of the tree. And on other species, you might see on the trunk like a lot of white where maybe the birds are pooping because they have a nest. So that's something to also check out and pay attention to. Another reason why I wouldn't want to climb a tree, or let me say it, I wouldn't want to climb it from underneath, are palm trees with a lot of dead fronds on the base. Like here in California, a lot of people die from this type of work where they spike underneath these skirts and they try to trim upward. Now another way to make it where you can climb is if you use the stationary rope system, where you throw your rope over the tree and you ascend to the top and you work your way down. You can also use a false crotch, where you throw a rope over and send a pulley up, and now you use a double rope system to get to the top and you can trim your way down. But to trim from underneath, that could be a sentence to death, something you really don't want to do. And if you're talking about palm trees, sometimes you got date palms and other types of palms where sometimes there's something called fusarium, and it really can eat the inside of the tree. So if you see the canopy of the palm and it kind of looks like tough, maybe weak, maybe the leaves aren't looking good. Some leaves, if you're talking about fusarium, if it's a feather palm, half of the leaves are dead on the palm leaf itself. Maybe you want to sound the palm by having a rubber mallet or even a stick. When you're doing that and you hear like hollow, that might be a reason not to climb that palm, even if you can install a rope on the top. Sometimes those palms will break off from the top, and that could be a catastrophic results. Another reason, it could be pests, maybe disease, or even fungus. Over here in California, we had a shot-hole borer, and it carried a fungus called fusarium. So it was attacking healthy trees. It was attacking a lot of different species. Here, when you see the shot hole borer damage, it would inject on its body, it had the fusarium. So it infected it with that fungus. Now you would have some pretty okay looking trees, and that fungus would make the branches weak. So people would climb, and in some cases people would climb on the branches and they'd snap out from under them. That would be a good reason not to climb that tree. But there are a lot of different types of disease and pests. Now, if a tree is riddled with it, that might be a good reason not to climb that tree. Another reason not to climb a tree is root separation. Well, here's an extreme example of it. This tree had already fallen over. But a lot of times when there's a tree that's going to begin to fall over, you'll see a sunken inside on the opposite side of the lean, and you'll see on the other side where, on the other side of the lean, a lot of times you could see the roots and you could see gaps between the roots. If you don't see gaps, maybe you go stomp on it, you can feel vibrations. Maybe you could use a probe. And if you probe and it sinks really easily, then that tree has movement. That would be a tree that you wouldn't want to climb, because when you get up there, it could fall on you. Another reason that would be to not climb a tree is electrical lines. Definitely electrical lines, because you can get killed, especially if they're distribution lines or primary lines. Bottom line is, if your tree is within 10 feet of electrical lines, you definitely don't want to climb. If it's closer than 10 feet, get a hold of like Edison or electrical company in your area and see if they can clear them enough for them to be safe. Now, having said that, with primary lines, usually 10 feet's enough, but if there's distribution lines, those are like the big towers. Now those are a greater distance. And if you're not familiar with climbing or trimming around electrical lines, definitely leave it up to the pros. There's people who are certified in that. You don't want to climb a tree that is so close to a tree. That's another reason I wouldn't climb a tree. Well, there you have it. Some of the reasons I wouldn't climb a tree. Having rot at the base, or an unstable tree, maybe animals that might hurt you, or animals that you want to preserve. Also, maybe trees that are diseased bad enough where branches could break on you. And for sure, what's most important would be electrical lines. Electrical lines can kill you. So those are some of the reasons why I wouldn't climb a tree. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you like what we do. And by all means, share our videos. Take care. We'll see you next time.